Hello, everybody. My name is Joshua Schmidt, and I work with the MLTI Ambassador team here at the Maine Department of Education. What I'm hoping to do today is deliver a PD that I did recently with some students and teachers centered around using merged cubes and how to use them, especially for people who are at the beginning stages. In this video, I'm going to showcase a few resources that I made where I recorded myself inside of a few different apps. That doesn't always work great on Zoom, which is what I'm using to record. So I've put a bit.ly link in the bottom right. It's all lowercase. That will bring you to this slide deck, and then you can watch the videos as well. I will show them in this presentation, but just letting you know, it might be a little bit of lag in the background. So if you want to watch them yourself or watch them later, they are free and available to use. So the basic idea of Merge Cube is that it's a specific type of augmented reality. Many times when people are thinking about augmented and virtual reality, they're thinking of the virtual reality side, which is where you are immersed in the entire virtual reality. Kern Kelly at Nokomis talks about if you're wearing a fishbowl on your head and it's painted on the inside, the whole environment is around you at all times. And if you move, the environment moves with you. Merge Cube, by extension, is called augmented reality, where you're using a device, usually a mobile device, iPad, phone, something like that. And when you look through the device, it changes the environment around you to see something cool or unique. Now, I myself am a huge nerd, so my first real exposure to high quality augmented reality was the game Pokemon Go, where you're going around the actual world and then the animations in the game show up as if they're there in real life. But obviously, if you put the phone down, there's not a Pikachu standing in the middle of the road. So Merge Cube, like I said, is a powerful form of augmented reality. If you think of something like a QR code, if I scanned that code with my phone, I would go to a website. A merge cube is basically just a QR code on every side of the cube. So it's like 6 QR codes all at the same time. And what that helps you do is it's kind of like a picture that as it moves, it creates it to be three-dimensional. And personally, my favorite thing to do with the merge cube is to hold stuff in my hand. But what I've discovered is that many times the apps that come with Merge Cube are more exciting to use when you're putting them on your desk or your floor or in the room around you rather than purely hold. So, number one most important thing is that the Merge Cube itself, without any app to support it, doesn't do anything. It's basically just this really cool paperweight that can sit on your desk. There are three major apps that I recommend using when you're starting this out for the first time. The first one, and the one you'll do the most in, is called Merge Object Viewer, and these are all direct links if you click at that downloads at the top. The basic idea of Object Viewer is that you are viewing objects inside of Merge. But what's really cool about it is that you can place these objects physically in your room. And I'll show in the video, I should put them in the room that I work in over here. And then all of those objects were like together in the room. You can make some pretty fun stuff. Now, Merge does have a paid version, which is one of the biggest limitations of the program. Object Viewer has the most free resources. Every one of these apps has some free resources, but Object Viewer has the most. So for many teachers, that's the place I would start. Now, Merge Explorer is kind of developed to be science simulations. The free version only has 3 simulations, but they're all very good. But if you decided to pay for it, it has 100 high quality, realistic-ish simulations. I say realistic-ish because my favorite one is called Mr. Body. It's a cartoony version of the inside of a human body. And so you can look at the organs, the brain, all these really cool parts that you wouldn't be able to see otherwise. But they're not realistic enough, so there's no like gore or anything like that. So I like the balance a lot with Mr. Body, and Explorer has other resources like that. Now, I myself am a space nerd. I love space stuff. My son and I love looking at the stars, which is actually our favorite augmented reality, is to hold our phone up and see constellations in the sky. HoloGlobe does something very similar, except that it's mainly about the Earth itself. So it'll show you real, authentic, most recent images of the Earth, satellites around the Earth, sensor data, and you can see even world maps. There's a lot of cool stuff in here, and that is Merge HoloGlobe. That's also the one, if you ever see someone holding the Earth in their hand, it's kind of the big thing people associate with Merge. That was HoloGlobe. So we're going back to Object Viewer, and this is where I talk about those videos that I am going to play, but remember, might not load perfectly in Zoom. But the basic idea is if you look on the left, you have a bunch of different objects, and then as you click in each one, you will have a bunch of free available tools you can use, and we can go from there. So let's take a look and see what it looks like. So I'm opening up Object Viewer here. And it will usually take a little while to load because the apps are pretty intensive. There's a lot going on here. But as you see, as I scroll down, there are anything that doesn't have a little lock symbol next to it is free. So all of these apps are free. But as I scroll down, like I told you, Object Viewer is the most free stuff. Now, any lock there, those are the paid resources. So I pull out the viruses. I think that's a good one to start with. And I pull out a virus. And at the top of the screen, when this comes up, you will see a bunch of different options. You see 3D, cube, world, and headset. 3D is what we're looking at right now. It's just a 3D picture. You can turn it, you can make it bigger, you can make it smaller. You have lots of options there, but that's all you can do with that object. Now, by extension, if I click cube at the top of the screen, this is what the Merge Cube does, where I can physically hold this virus in my hands. And as you see, if I hit weird corners or it comes out of focus, the image will disappear. That's because it's basically a really fancy QR code. Now, I think the most fun is World, which I can put this virus in the room that I'm standing in, and I can move around it. I can move behind it. I can move it in the room. I can make it really, really big or really, really small and go from there. Now, what's fun is that if I go and find other things, dinosaurs are always fun. So let's pick a dinosaur. I can do the same things with this new object that I could have done otherwise. Now, the thing that's unique here is that as I pull this up, if I do the world again, the object that I had before is still there. And so if I place my dinosaur and I manipulate the dinosaur, it will stay in the room with the virus that I was just using, and they'll kind of overlap with each other. Any of those little pink eyes, if you click them, it'll pull up some extra information about the object that you're using. So as you can see here, I can move this around the room as much as I want. Now, for time's sake, we're going to move to Explorer next, because it's very similar with each of the apps. They all have the same three functions: 3D, cube, and world. The one on the right is the VR headset, which you have them. It's very cool, and you should check it out. But for this one, we're only going to focus on those first three. Now, Explorer is science simulations, and we're going to show you Mr. Body. Whoops, it's going to max here. There we go. So as you see, anything with the lock, you cannot use without paying. But if I click into Mr. Body here, it will give me a bunch of options of objects that I can look at, just like I did before. I have 3D, cube, and world here. So I'm going to go 3D first. So I pick the kidneys. I can rotate the kidneys. I can manipulate them, make them bigger, make them smaller. But in 3D, that's all I can do. Same with the liver here. Okay, next up, I just wanted to make sure. Next up is the cube, which you could hold the liver in your hands. Now, here's the one thing I don't love about Mr. Body is they put it into a hospital room, which kind of looks cool at first, except if you look at the bottom of the cube, it's the floor. So you actually can't see anything beyond that. And then, of course, the part that is most fun is to take that liver and put it in your room and make it as big as you want. You see that red and the green button? That's more of that information, cool stuff you can learn about the organ and its function. And you can do this with all kinds of other organs as well. Like I said, this video is located in this slide deck. I will re-give you the link in just a little bit, but I want to show you probably my favorite one when I was learning MergeCube for the first time, HoloGlobe, which you get to hold the Earth in your hands. Now, the thing about HoloGlobe is there are only 3. These are all different like maps or data about the Earth itself. So it kind of all does the same thing. But there's some really cool stuff you can see. That real-time Earth data is frequently taken very, very recently. So when I did this, it was actually taken the day before that I recorded this video. And as you see, this is a live picture of the Earth from that most recent time frame, fully 3-dimensional, very, very cool. Just like before, if I want to click cube at the top of the screen, that's how I can hold the Earth in my hand, which is very fun to do. There we go. If I move it closer to the camera, it'll get bigger. If I move it farther away, it'll get smaller. There we go. And then, just like before, you can click World at the top to place it in the room that you're in, and you can make it as big or as small as you want. You can rotate it, just like the other things. You can put the other ones in there. I'm a big fan of making it very big. If you haven't had the opportunity to make a giant dinosaur sit in your room that your students can see, it's pretty fun, and you definitely should check that out. So those are the 3 apps that I would recommend using if you haven't used Merge before. Usually what I do here with this PD is I give people 4 options on how to play. And this is how I would present it to my students as well. I would object viewer, where I have them hold shapes in their hand using the actual Merge cube. It's really fun to do. Have them go to Merge Explorer to see Mr. Body's organs in 3D. Works great in a science classroom. HoloGlobe, put the Earth on your desk and make it really, really big and try to look in. I always like to find like storm systems. So if there's a big, like a hurricane happening somewhere on Earth, we like to try to go and find it using that. Or, of course, object viewer, probably the ones your students are going to choose the most. They're going to put a bunch of giant dinosaurs and fruits and vegetables and viruses and put them all around the room. My coworker, Donna Netzer, talked about doing an AR scavenger hunt, which I think is a really fun thing to do. Hide an object somewhere in the room and give the device to the kid to have to go find the object. That would be a good time. Now, I work with a phenomenal team of teachers. So if you had any questions and wanted to reach out to myself, my email is joshua.schmidt@maine.gov. The other people on my team, same idea, first name.last name@maine.gov. But the easiest way to get a hold of us is getting a hold of us on social media using @Maine DOE LTT or emailing at DOE-LTT@maine.gov. And we would love to help and support you. Once again, if you wanted this presentation with all of the free resources located inside of it, that is all lowercase, bit.ly/merge MLTI. Once again, all lowercase. I thank you all so much for your time. I look forward to hearing all of the great ways that you're using Merge and Merge Cubes in your classroom.